Japan versus Australia has finished, and my word, this was a brilliant game. Yes, it was early in the morning. I've been up since 6 o'clock in the morning, ready on my fourth coffee, but it was all worth it. Australia managed to fend off a very strong second half performance from Japan and came through with a big win, keeping them undefeated up against Japan. So I want to break this game down. Please like, subscribe. It really does help the channel grow, and let's get into it. So, Australia came through with another big win, keeping them undefeated up against Japan, and they started off the game really, really strong. Champion de Crespigny, I believe that's I can never get this guy's name right. He ended up opening up the points with a try on the 12th minute, and Tain Edmed ended up getting that converted. So ended up 7-0. Just before Lawrence ended up getting himself a yellow for Japan. Now, Japan really had a very troubled first half, ended up getting two yellows, one from Lawrence, one from Takeuchi, and the only shining light that they had was Lee getting himself a penalty on the 26th minute to get themselves on the board. But otherwise, it was a very difficult first half for Japan. Japan defended well, but it was kind of controlled by Australia with big runs, big moves. And, you know, the players were just playing really, really well. But it was that second half where things really started to take shape. I don't know what Eddie Jones ended up saying to them, but he ended up finding a way to get the best out of them, because they came out the gates 51st minute with a try from Takeuchi, and you know, it was just pure power, just bundling through. And that started to really get me excited, because I'm like, okay, this game is now actually something. It's not just going to be Australia taking the game by force. Japan actually had a foot in this game, because it ended up 14-8, giving them just that little bit of chance. Obviously, would have been very helpful if that had to be converted, but that still gave them just that slight bit of chance to get themselves back into the game. Tiziano then ended up getting himself a try on the 56th minute, where he ended up bundling over through a maul, and again, keeping that distance, ended up getting 19-8. But Japan was still defending very, very well. They were putting in the big hits. They were, you know, really pressing Australia. They were really making them hurt, making them fight for every single thing. Even Tiziano's try, they were made to fight non-stop. Gunter ended up getting himself a try on the 60th minute, which was converted by Lee, making it 19-15. And Australia managed to end the game off relatively easy, kept the ball through face play, and then, you know, put it out to end the game. But this was by no means an easy win, at least a second half performance from Australia. Australia were really made to hurt. They were really put to the sword, because if they had to make just a simple mistake, this game could have shifted. And there were multiple times where Japan broke, and thankfully, Australia managed to keep them, because if this was any other bigger side, we would have seen them, you know, clear on goal and tries scored. So Australia did manage to defend well, don't get me wrong, but they were made to fight for everything. They were really, really made to fight for everything. And I mean, we can see it through the tackles. Yes, the Wallabies had more possession and they had more territory, but Japan made 221 tackles comparing to Australia's 151. They still had to fight quite hard for it. Hayate Era ended up getting himself 24 tackles completed. I think he only missed one tackle. Kipe Ishida ended up beating 3 defenders. Again, Hayate Era ended up getting himself 3 turnovers as well. I mean, this guy was an absolute monster. He was an absolute monster. Yeah, they actually played really, really well. Angus Bell played really well for Australia, getting himself 17 carries. But yeah, this was a big game. This was a big game. Australia really had to fight for it, and yeah, I mean, there were certain individual performances from Japan which made this all possible, like Yoshitaka Yazaki. He ended up carrying the ball for 82 meters himself. Kipe Ishida 60, Michael Lich 48. And talking about Michael Litch, he was an absolute beast. The guy, he made over 20 tackles. The guy, he was just an absolute nuisance to Australia. He was carrying well. He was just that thorn in their foot. You know, whenever they tried to get anything, he was there. He was frustrating them. He was putting on the pressure. And yeah, this was a solid performance from Japan, and it's actually looking quite promising, albeit it is Japan. Australia are playing a weakened side, so you know you have to take it with a pinch of salt. But there's a lot to take from here. We saw good performances from Hunter Paisami, Jeremy Williams, Nicholas Champion de Crespigny. Carlo Tazzano ended up getting on the score sheet, and he put in a pretty solid performance as well. He's been on the sidelines quite a lot. But yeah, I'm really liking the Josh Fluke, Hunter Paisami. I really enjoyed that. They obviously, there's still a lot to be developed, but in terms of what the Wallabies put out, the players that were put out, the performances from the players, like even Dylan Peach, what's his name? How have I forgotten his name? Corey Toole. How have I forgotten Corey Toole's name? Yeah, Corey Toole. Yeah, they played well. Obviously, they didn't shine like the way they normally did. It was a very strong defensive performance from Japan, and there was still a lot to be wanting from Australia. There was still some inconsistencies, but considering the team that they played, it is understandable, right? It is understandable. So this is what I say. Australia are becoming stronger. They are building that depth. They are getting better in each different position, which is lovely to see. Because when you don't have the likes of Will Skelton, when you don't have the likes of Frost, they have players like Williams, they have Salakalaya Lotto. You know, when you don't have, you know, players like your Fraser McWright. Obviously, Carlo Tazzano, he can fill in. The guy he's an absolute beast. You know, he is an absolute beast. Harry Wilson, when he started on the bench today. Nick Champion de Crespigny, the guy, he is brilliant, and he is really developing into a very strong player. So he himself, he can fill in along the back row pretty well. Jake Gordon, he had himself a pretty good game, but you know, there's Carter Gordon that's going to be coming into the squad, which I cannot wait for Carter Gordon to come in. Tane Edmund, he had a pretty solid game. Obviously, he does need to improve. He does need to become better, but he's still got time. The guy is still developing. Dylan Peach, Corey Toole, they still young, speedsters. You know, they put in solid performances, not like what we saw in the Rugby Championship, but still good performances. Hunter Paisami and Josh Fluke, I think it's the first time that they've been partnered together. They played pretty well together as well. They had a fairly good partnership, and then Andrew Kellaway coming in after injury, you know, there was bound to be a little bit of rust, you know, so this was a good way to shake off the rust, build that mental fortitude, get everybody playing together, because when the November tests come around, it's going to be difficult. It is really, really going to be difficult. So they are going to be wanting their best players to be fit, ready, but they also want to be having a lot of these some of the second tier players, the B team players, to be getting time, to be building. Because what happens if, God forbid, Swali'i gets injured, Lenny Kitao gets injured, if, you know, I don't know, Will Skelton or Nick Frost or, you know, Harry Wilson, what happens if any of them get injured? What happens? So, guys, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Please like, subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. And I'll catch you guys later. Bye.